Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Rise with Sarah Sincotta. I am your host, Sarah, and today we have Dominic Locandro joining us, the director from the apartment specialist. Thank you so much, Dom, for joining me today.
No, it's a pleasure. Great to see you.
It's always a pleasure to see you. And I thought, we have such great conversations, in-depth conversations, and we talk about all things life and all things property management and the real estate industry. So I'm really grateful that you've decided to come on today so we can get some of the things that we speak about privately to a public forum. So thank you so much, Dom.
No problem at all.
Let's start, because I know you really well, but for those that are watching that don't know you, who is Dominic?
It's a loaded question. At the end of the day, to most people that do know me, I suppose I just think I'm a simple country boy is probably the easiest thing. Obviously, as the name suggests, the vowels at the end, Italian heritage, Italian background, and still trying to stay as true to that upbringing as possible. Absolutely love the country. Probably wish I was there now, to be quite honest with you. Love cooking, love eating, love just doing all the old-fashioned things, I suppose, and enjoying life to the best way we possibly can.
I love that. And I do know you love making your Italian sausages, and I'm always in absolute awe because that's something that we actually didn't do growing up in an Italian background. And I really love that you've kept that tradition going. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole thing and the way it's evolved over the last couple of years. And I suppose if I look at it personally to sort of expose a bit, like I've got 3 young boys and my life pretty much centers around them. But he's 13 now, but when your 12-year-old comes to you, and it's been a struggle over the last couple of years with COVID and shutdowns and things like that to get everyone together and as everyone grows up. But when your 12-year-old comes to you and says that, you know what, Dad, that was the best day of my life after, 3 days of getting in there. I'm sure you'd appreciate with any sort of Italian gathering, there's arguing, there's fighting, there's yelling, there's screaming, there's eating. And it's quite a stressful environment in doing it. And then you've got to wait 3 months because you never know if you've stuffed it up. And once you hang the salami and waiting for them to actually develop and do what nature needs to do. And then so it's generally about 10 to 12 weeks before you actually taste the fruits of all that hard work. But it's that period around June, July. It's an amazing time and a tradition I've been, my family have been making it since I suppose they came to Australia in the 50s, and we continue to do it. And as I say to a lot of people, if I could find anything that sort of replicated the taste or the quality of what we do, I'd probably stop making it, but I'm really glad we haven't. And I still can't find anything that comes close. And it is. And every time we then slice one up for the year that goes forward, I've started handing them out to quite a few clients actually. And now most people know that I'm always accessible, but they know I disappear sort of around the start of July. But the phone then rings, where's my salami? Where's my salami? Come around the end of August, start of September. So you sort of create your own environment, and now people expect it. But it's an amazing tradition and something I hope to do for many, many years to come.
I love that. And I think that's what I love about being Italian is we didn't do the salami or sausages, but we did the sauce making day.
Yeah.
It is a great metaphor as well, Dominic, with what you just said. There's so much preparation that goes into that day, and it can be a bit hectic, but for us, it's not really stressful because we are used to that environment because we've been brought up in that environment. And then having that anticipation and waiting for all of that hard work that you put in to that day when you can finally slice it and enjoy it with your family. And I think that's just a great example to just stop and think, all of the systems and processes that we have are leading towards something.
Yeah, 100%. And, just as you're saying that, something else sort of comes to mind, which I'm sure you might appreciate, and a few of the followers, but it's a bit more public now, and like all good things, everyone believes they make the best salami, and there's so many different competitions now, and so it's not only the individual stress, and you're right, like we start preparing about April, because you need to get all the and we still do everything natural. There's no preservatives. I know a lot of people put preservatives now. We don't use plastic casings, or we still use the old intestines, and going through it. But there's then that challenge and the pressure that everyone puts, and everyone's got a different recipe, and everyone does it different, no different than what we do every day from a property management point of view. So it is very much a metaphor for life. Is I love the salami that we make, because it's the salami I've been eating for 50 years. And it's not just salami, it has memories, it has emotion. It reminds me of every single family function, dinner I've ever been to in my life. And, I know it's good. And a lot of people tell me it's good. But whether it's the best, or whether someone else's is the best, or, what's the best? The best is always a function of interpretation. The best of, from my point of view, I'm just comfortable if I do it the best I can possibly do it, because I'm just a backyard hack, and we transform the backyard into a salami making factory, and we've built our own little shed, and we smoke them, and we do what we do, and it's all based on 100-year-old stories and traditions and things like that. But at the end of the day, whenever I open one up, I know, you know what, they're good. And then, like I said, there is the anticipation, and sometimes they don't go well. There's horror stories. Everyone thinks it's all easy, and like everything else, you don't always get every listing, and sometimes you spend a year and it's wipeout. Something's happened, too much chili, it wasn't cold enough, too much salt, flies got in, and sort of things happened, and the whole year's a wipeout. And then you get yourself up and you go, okay, what did we do wrong? How did we do it? This year was a great one, and can't wait for next year.
There's a couple of things I want to pull apart from that, and talk about the reflection of in real estate and property management. The first one is, Dom, what you said is not everything always goes to plan, but you stop and go, okay, what didn't work? What do we need to do now? It's not just going, oh, well, that didn't work, who cares? It's you stop, reflect, and work it out. The other thing with what you said is that your viewpoint is, well, you think yours is the best, and that's all that matters, right? Other people will go, okay, theirs is the best. Same in property management. We can go, we are an award-winning company. We have the most Google reviews. Our point of differences are more. We service our clients the best way possible. And this week, I nearly was brought to tears because I had a BDM that has joined the industry in the last 12 months say that her limiting belief is that the other agents are just better than her. And that's stopping her from truly fulfilling her full potential, because she thinks other people are better than her. And I thought, how it just really touched me that there is still this pressure that we can put on ourselves to compete against other people, when I believe that we're only competing with ourselves every day.
And I think that's a societal issue as opposed to just a real estate issue. You can look at things like Instagram and Facebook, and like you said, Google reviews, and it's all opinions. And what do really opinions matter? Now, I'm not going to say that I can say that now. I'm a little bit older and I'm a little bit more experienced, but I understand the cut and thrust of the industry, of the market, of what you need to do. And equally, I've been doing this nearly 30 years. So I believe I've gone through quite a few cultural changes. I didn't have an email when I started work. I didn't even have a mobile phone. Like, I go so far back as my parents' house. When I started working at 18, we had our after hours number was my parents' house. Now we've got a situation where you're expected to be on call 24/7. People send an email, they'll send a text, they'll send I was going to say a fax, but no one has a fax anymore. And it's like, I've just sent you 5 communications. Why haven't you contacted me in the last 25 seconds? And it's like, really? I didn't think I was sitting at my computer waiting for you to send me an email or maybe text. I could be in a meeting. I could be dead. But all you care about is, why haven't I responded to your text that you sent me 3.5 seconds ago? And, unfortunately, I didn't have my glasses, so I couldn't read it, which is the truth now. And it's very, very sad, because I do honestly believe that a lot of it has been self-created. I believe a lot of it has been further perpetuated by individuals who still have a very old mindset, individuals who still operate in the past. And it's only when you come to terms with that and try to acknowledge that, you know what, this isn't right. So maybe I'm going to look at it a different way. I know, I used to be a news junkie, for example. I would start my day and I would read front to back, The Age, the Fin Review, the Herald Sun. I would then watch the news. I would do everything. And I have been doing that and did that for probably 30 years. I haven't read a newspaper for about 2.5 years. I haven't watched the news for 2.5 years, 3 years. I don't listen to the radio. I only listen to podcasts. Because quite frankly, anything that is in the media is old, is an opinion, not a fact. And quite frankly, it doesn't mean anything. So why am I going to get so stressed out, so worked up by something that some person who's never been a real estate agent, doesn't understand real estate? Last week was the Guardian journalist, doing gardening segments or something like that. And then all of a sudden is a property expert. And it's just, people posting things on Facebook or people posting things on Instagram. It does become really, really difficult, because you're getting all this information and there's all these attacks or thoughts that are entering your mind, and you can't be clear about what is true. So it's very, very sad, but unfortunately, I think it is something that that society has created, and it's now, I suppose, incumbent on us and also society to potentially reverse.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Dominic. And there are a lot of external factors, and we can have, the news, we've got the radio, we've got the TV, right? We've got newspaper, we've got podcasts, we've got articles, we've got Instagram, social media, TikTok, right? And you're consuming this information all the time. And while I'm saying this to you, Dom, I also am a victim to this. I will find myself scrolling on Instagram and not even being consciously aware that whilst I'm scrolling, I'm consuming things that I'm not necessarily choosing to consume. They're just coming to my attention.
And right? Those companies are smarter than all of us, let's be honest. So, you look on a post about the beach, and then miraculously you're going to get 10 other posts about the beach, and the computer tells you, and the computer does this, and the computer does that. I started, I like to be diverse in my learnings. And, one thing that I did many, many years ago to sort of, I suppose, open my mind and understand this, do yourself a favor, just watch each of the newses. So don't sit there and say, I watch Channel 7, I watch Channel 7, that's the only one I'm going to watch. Watch Channel 7, watch Channel 9, watch Channel 10, watch the ABC, watch SBS. I guarantee you'll be watching 5 different events occur, all about a cat was found up a tree. One's going to say the cat climbed up the tree. The other say someone put the cat there. The other said that, the cat was enjoying a sunny day. Everyone's got their own perspective. Everyone's got their own opinion. And it really comes down to the filter that you're looking through that will make it whatever the story is. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's a story.
Or what we say is our truth, right? Because the thing is, and I'm actually jumping on later and doing a webinar about growth mindset, but we all have different realities, we all have different beliefs, we all have different truths because of how we've been raised, right?
Yeah.
Our environment, our relationships to ourselves, and our relationships into others, and if we choose, right, because it's a choice to continue to learn and develop and grow. The other thing I've been doing at the moment, Dominic, is because I'm finding that what you said earlier, there's this unrealistic expectations from clients, and I do want to speak to that in a minute, but to find solitude and with myself. So solitude means no podcasts. It means no music. It means no phone, right? And this was hard for me to do, right? And I started off slow. It was like 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, 20 minutes. On the weekend, I went to the beach for 2 hours, and it was just me sitting at the beach. And it probably was one of the most uncomfortable things that I've ever done, because I was on my own and I had no distractions. But then I allowed myself to think about things that are important to me without the distractions, without anyone else there, without someone else telling me what their thoughts and beliefs are and opinions. And especially in property management too, that there's so much information out there. And I always say the biggest thing you can do is, if you want to learn, you got to invest in your learning and development yourself, right?
Well, look at what happened yesterday
with Optus.
So Optus blows up.
Yeah.
The phones don't work. I'm with Optus, so your phone doesn't work. Yeah. There is no internet. There's no ability to extract information from anywhere. Mm. Now, I'm sure there may have been a few sort of extreme situations, but life went on. Yeah. Things continued, and it was actually great to have 5 hours of peace and quiet. Yeah. I did so much work because I wasn't distracted, and I didn't have the phone ringing, didn't have emails coming through, nothing was happening. It's okay, I'm going to do some work. And you're right that I think that solitude and that ability to switch off, again, I don't know if it's my country upbringing, but, I usually rise at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. And my day's effectively either planned out or done by sort of 9 o'clock, and then I get to actually do what I need to do. And it's amazing how much you can do. And I always say it to my staff, and I've allowed them the opportunity, if they want to come to work at 6 a.m. and leave early and things like that, try just working 2 hours before the phones ring, before everything goes crazy, before you get the emails. Do not look at your emails. Do not look at your text messages. Don't look at any socials. Just actually spend 2 hours working. I promise you'll do more work in those 2 hours than I reckon you'd get done in about 3 to 4 days, without distractions. And it's amazing, because what are we all searching for? More time, more time, more time, more time. There's time there. It's just our inefficient use of time is something that causes us to not have time. Everyone has the same amount of hours in a day. Yeah. It's just about how we use those hours, and focusing on what's important versus what's not. Yeah.
And I'm on the, so now that I've been running my own business, I actually don't start work on most days until 10:30, 11. And someone's like, what? You don't start work till 10:30, 11? I'm like, yeah, because for me and my personality, I work best in sprints, right? So yeah. I'm very good at time blocking. I start the morning off giving myself time. Like every morning I'm out going for a walk. I read in the mornings, right? That's my solitude. And then I'm on, right? And that's how I best work. Okay. But I know what I need to get done for that day. And I'm very efficient in what I need to get done, rather than working, 8, well, sometimes when I was a BDM, 12-hour days I was doing, and it was hectic. It was frantic, right? And it wasn't because I wasn't always being productive. I was being busy, but not productive. So now,
and I think that's the thing, isn't it? There's a difference between, everyone says they work. What does that mean?
Tell me what you do.
Even when you said you don't start work till 11, but you're still reading, you're still looking after your mental health, you're still doing other things they allow you to produce more productively
throughout the day.
And as a result, it is work.
Yeah, that's
from my point of view, same thing, ice baths, exercise, reading. Those things are part of the routine to allow me to do what I need to do. And even from a brain capacity point of view, we're not attuned or don't have the ability to actually function fully for 8 or 12 hours. It's physically impossible.
Yeah.
And like I said, previously, I started working, grew up in an industry, with still the relics from the late 80s. And it was, if you didn't work 24 hours a day, you weren't working.
Yeah.
Really. And I think that's where that mindset needs to change. Most people still say I'm a workaholic, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it's about being proficient with your time versus just sitting at the desk, moving things around, and pretending that you're working. There are better ways. And, having a coffee is still work if you're producing revenue through clients and things like that. But if you said, oh, what did you do today? I had 3 coffees. But you did 5 deals. So did you work or did you have coffee?
Yeah. Perspective.
Correct. 100%.
I was having a conversation yesterday with a leader, and you'll like this one, Dom. She actually we were talking about client expectations now, and she said, this one client would constantly always contact the property manager after 5:30, right? Constantly. It was nothing urgent, right? Now, she ended up giving this particular owner a call and saying to this owner, what time do you finish work? And the owner said, 5:30. And she said, do you work after 5:30? And he said, no. And she explained to this particular owner, the same is for our staff. They are not expected to work after 5:30, and you need to respect that. And ever since she had that conversation with that client, do you think he calls the property manager again after 5:30? No. Yeah. So this is going back to talk about client expectations, right? Because now I think that people have made it too easy and not set healthy boundaries, whether that is with their renters or the investors or even team. Like I see some people have internal communication, right? And the amount of messages that I see from these internal communications is like, that's distracting people because they're constantly seeing notification. I think it's healthy to have an internal communication for a team. I don't think it's healthy when there's then this unexpected pressure to look at those messages all the time to get updates on what's happening from the team. It's the same with the client. Okay, they message you once and then they might message you again, where you might literally be at a routine inspection with another client, or you might be in appraisal. So I know that you've got your view on this. So what do you think as an industry we can do to set healthy boundaries and actually have these conversations with renters and landlords to be like, these are what we will do for you, and we will work for you, look after your property, but still have those healthy boundaries in place so that they're not expecting their property manager to answer the phone at 8 o'clock at night, or their BDM to rock up and do an appraisal at 8:30 at night.
Yeah. I think the answer to your question is probably in one of your last statements, and that's an industry which realistically has a lot more little prickles on it in regards to that, because it gets back to this whole philosophy that everyone thinks they're better. Like I said, when I started working, I didn't have a mobile phone. No one could contact you, and it was just expected. I'm young enough to remember when the shops closed at 12 o'clock on a Saturday. I'm not quite old enough to remember the Saturday being shut completely, but nothing was open on a Sunday. So we've gone through this massive evolution of instantaneous communication, expecting. Did the mobile phone actually assist us with our life, or has it made it worse? That's an argument for another day, but the whole purpose of it was to allow us to be communicable sort of outside of our home, because, you know, the old phones used to have it. But has it got to the point now where people just expect you to always answer the phone? And I think that comes back to a business decision and the style of operation you run, and has a lot more depth to it in regards to the quality of your service, what is actually service, the fees that you charge. Most of my clients know that they can contact me after hours, and most of them will know that it effectively has to be a matter of, you know, life or death. Unfortunately, we deal in an industry that that has issues that do require emergencies to be attended to after hours. But other than that, there is really no reason. Nothing's going to change from 6:45 p.m. and 9:32 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
You know, but I think again, that comes back to the individual business. It comes back to the individual operator and them understanding, because 9 times out of 10, it gets back to the client. And if that client thinks that it is acceptable for them to contact you at 9:30 at night, well, maybe they're not the right client for you. Maybe there's something else missing. You know, like you said, they finish work. We've all heard it. How many times have we heard it from people? And it's like, I can't do that between 8 and 6 because I work. Because I have a party between 8 and 6, but apparently you're the only one that works between 8 and 6. So I'll just come out at midnight. You know, it's lack of respect, but also it's a function, again, of society and the way things work. We have a few things that we do, and we are even more, and again, coming from an old school environment, everyone's mobiles, everything was contactable, everyone was available, et cetera, et cetera. But over the last couple of years, unfortunately, we've had to evolve, whereby we've removed mobile numbers from all communication, because unfortunately a lot of people do not respect. I've lost count of how many people have got drunk and locked themselves out at 9:30 at night and think it's the best thing to do is ring the real estate agent who lives 20 kilometers away rather than a locksmith. But, you know, so it gets to the point that you've got to put in boundaries and controls. The same with emails. I'm seeing it a lot more from a lot of other sort of, you know, real estate agents and competing, where now there's an automated response on an email saying, thank you very much. We will be back to you within 24, 48 hours. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because like I said, we all know we have a job to do. We all try to do our best, but I'm not ignoring you. I'm just in another meeting.
Yeah.
You know, like I was brought up in the environment. For example, we all do opens. We all do appointments. I think there is nothing ruder than someone who picks up a phone call during an open. You've got 15 minutes, you've got 20 minutes, you've got half an hour, whatever it is that you do. You should, that's game day. You need to perform. You need to answer queries. You need to screen the tenants. You need to screen the buyers. You need to be accessible. You need to do deals. And then you're on the phone to some person who is like, no. So I think also we need to take responsibility from an industry point of view. There is nothing wrong with returning someone's phone call 30 minutes later, or 1 day later, or 2 days later. You know, I've been in a conference for the last 3 days. I wasn't going to answer my phone and miss the valuable information that I was learning at the conference. My phone was turned off. That doesn't mean I'm ignoring anyone. It doesn't mean I'm not good at my job. It doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm doing. No, it just means that unfortunately I've got another priority that is more urgent right at this particular time. And most reasonable people understand that. And that's where I suppose, yeah, just assess it from your own point of view and say, okay, if that client does not understand that, well, then we have to take responsibility and either re-educate the client or say, you know what, if I don't want to answer the phone at 6:30 and that's what bugs you, well, I don't want the client.
Yeah. I think a couple of things you said then, Dom, is education is so important, especially from a business development perspective as well, is if you know your property managers do not work after 5:30, why are you going and taking phone calls after 5:30 for a client that you're onboarding? Because you're not honoring that boundary for the team. Yeah. And it's advising your renters, these are the processes, these are the procedures. Even when it comes to maintenance now, like there are prop tech companies that are actually helping when it comes to after hour maintenance, so that property managers don't have to take those phone calls. It's dealt with from a third party, and if it is absolutely urgent, then they know the steps there. So whilst we have evolved as an industry, it's like refine your processes, work out what the expectations that you're going to set with your clients, the boundaries that you're going to have, the processes, how technology can help. If you do switch off at 5:30, have your voicemail saying, you've called me after hours, I will get back to you within 24 hours. Like, set that expectation. For me, it was same day. I would always get back to my clients same day, because that was the level of service that I had. So if that meant that, I was messaging someone at 6:30 or calling them, then yes, I did that, because that was my promise, my delivery of service. And that's the other thing you said, Dom, is every agency will be different, right? But there comes a time when, in our industry as well, mental health is such a big topic now. You need to protect yourself. We need to protect the industry. And because we don't want people to keep leaving the industry, we want to support people growing with the industry and also evolving, so that they're happy and look at it as a career.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, there's no right or wrong. There are certain clients that will ring me at 9 o'clock at night, and I have no issue taking the phone call. Okay. It's a 5-minute phone call. I consider some of these people my friends. It's no different than a friend calling or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's certain other things that you need to set boundaries. And as you just said, those boundaries are so important, because they do set the parameters moving forward for the relationship, whatever the relationship with the renter, the relationship with the rental provider, the relationship with your tradespeople, the owners' corporations, all these sort of people that you need to deal with. But I think it's also worth highlighting that, we're talking about a very, very minute percentage, but unfortunately, as with anything in life, it's 20% of the people that'll take up 80% of your time, and vice versa. So it's about then creating systems for those, unfortunately, the 20% who aren't doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dom, let's talk about, because you identified yourself in the industry with a specific niche, which I love, and that is, back to your title, the apartment specialist. And you work with a lot of builders and developers. And it's interesting because I've worked with builders and developers before as a BDM, but a lot of business development managers, like, wouldn't even know where to start. Or they've never been able to have the conversations or really understand. So can you give us some insights on your journey that led you to the apartment specialist, and really honing in on that niche with the apartments and that relationship with developers and builders?
Yeah. I fell into it. So like I said, I have been doing this a long time, and in the mid-90s, there weren't too many apartments. They're probably the old flats, the choccy blocks, as I like to call them, the sort of things throughout South Yarra and Richmond, and 3 stories. But there weren't a lot of apartments. It was, I suppose, the wave of the future. So I started my real estate journey in commercial real estate, and got involved in sort of project marketing, mass sales, and that's where I suppose I gathered a few skills. Then I worked for a developer, and that's when I did my first apartment project as a developer, and then sort of went back and forth between developer and agency before setting this business up in too many years ago now, I think 206, 207, thereabouts. And it just evolved. Property management was never part of it. But as you know, I've sort of, to a few people that know the journey, I got into it because most other real estate agents at that point were scared of apartments, didn't understand apartments, wanted nothing to do with apartments. It was a foreign product. So by default, I started out in apartments actually selling things off the plan. And then I had all these investors that needed their properties managed. So I decided to start a property management business. And that was 12, 13 years ago now, and just continued to grow from there.
Yeah, amazing. So for any business development managers that are looking to, network or establish relationships with builders or developers, do you think it's important for them to have the understanding of the process, like what you had done before you started managing the apartments?
It definitely helps. You don't need to go and work for a developer, don't get me wrong. But you need to understand the product. And that's no different than every other real estate agent. And you need to understand the local area. You need to understand the local schools. You need to understand the local demographics and who your clientele is. I suppose the difference with apartment buildings is apartment buildings are a completely different product. So you need to understand that. And I suppose when I started in the journey, it was a lot different. And I still see it. I love nothing more than going to an open and standing out at the front of a building, and there could be 5 other real estate agents there, and I'll always chat to people and ask them questions. And it still astounds me how many local real estate agents are always upset that they're standing in an apartment building or don't understand the apartment building and things like that. So the most important thing with developers and builders is 100%, and no different than any client, know what their product is, because at the end of the day, you want their product, so you need to learn their product. It's not about you. You could be the best real estate agent in the world, but if you don't understand their product, you're effectively useless to them, because you're the best real estate agent, but you're not the best real estate agent for them. And I think that's the thing that, especially with apartments, that you need to, it's just the lingo sometimes. It's just understanding the different clientele that are going to want to rent them. It's understanding the different market. Yeah. There are certain people that will only rent apartments versus people that will only rent or buy houses. And an in-depth knowledge 100% definitely helps. And especially like any listing you're trying to get, you've got a few options. You can either just try and sell yourself as the best guru since sliced bread, and therefore you should be appointed because you are the best, or you can look at it a little bit differently and say, okay, let me build a relationship with this person. Let me show them I'm the best, but equally show that they need my help. Yeah. Because then it becomes a mutual relationship. Otherwise, it's purely transactional. Yeah. And when you're no longer the best and another guru comes over the top, well, see you later. We all know clients that will just change for better fees, or this guy leased it in 10 days versus 9 days. Therefore, you're out and the next one's in. And if you haven't taken that time to build that knowledge, to build that trust, to build that relationship, that's all it is. It's purely a transaction. And in this industry, transactions are good to an extent, but they don't build businesses. They just build sort of quarterly results that can go up and down. And especially in this market, it's relationships that count. It's not about being the latest and greatest guru either.
Love that, what you said. And because I think that's why we have aligned so well, Dom, and I consider you a great friend now, but because we care about relationships, and it's not people don't become successful. I'm going to do that, right? Because everyone's definition of success is different, but overnight it takes time, right? And I think about the relationships that I have with friends, and some relationships that didn't work out with friends, and why that happens, because we will continue to grow as people as well. So when you start learning, developing, right, you start attracting different people that align to where you are. So my advice with that is, if you want to work with specific people and build these relationships, like with developers and builders, the first step is just reach out to them, have a conversation with them, get to know them, say, hey, I'm looking to explore relationships because of the industries that we work together in. I would love to know more so I can develop my skills. And I can guarantee that they will give you the time of day because you're coming from a place of authenticity and being genuine, so that you're just learning, right? You're not even asking to do business with them at that point. It's just for you to
100%. And that's what I love about this industry, but also about life, is that, yeah, people will help. You just ask the question.
Yes.
Most people are really, really nice, and they'll help. And they'll, how many times you go up to someone in the street and you're a tourist or you're lost, and that person will direct you or walk you there or show you. They don't know you from a bar of soap. But I think it is that function of asking. And I suppose if I also look at my own journey with what you said as well, I know that if I look at all of my clients, they all stem from one job to the next job, to the next job, to the next job. So if I didn't start that first one, I meet one client, I then meet an architect on another job, I then meet a builder on another job, that builder then puts me in touch with a different architect, and that architect, and next thing you know, 15 years later, there's sort of 80 buildings and under management and apartments all over Melbourne, all from one initial conversation. And yeah, you just need to take action and start, because if you don't start, well, you're never going to go anywhere. And I think that's the most important thing. And not looking at developers as being scary, or these big corporations, or these people that are smarter or bigger than a single landlord. They've got the same interests, they've got the same desires, they're just doing it on a bigger scale, and you just need to adapt. And plenty of times I've dealt with lots of builders and lots of developers, they're just as scared as you are. They've gone from doing 2 units to 30 apartments, and they have no idea what they're doing either. But they've got the guts, they've got the courage to give it a go. And when I talk about them needing you, they're the ones that really need you. They're the ones that really need your advice. They're the ones that really need your information, your knowledge. And people will grow with you. So if you can grow with people and you can be shown to, like I said, have a relationship, be more developed than just be transactionally based, the world is your oyster, and there's plenty of room for growth.
Love it. I think we don't need to say any more about that topic, because that's just amazing insights and value for just anyone in property management and BDMs. Like, again, that growth mindset, phenomenal. So we've spoken about evolution, we've spoken about relationships, client expectations. What do you think is next, Dom, for the industry, like 2024? Because I keep hearing some mixed messages. I have my opinion on it, but what do you think is next for our industry, especially in property management?
I think we've got a few very, very interesting years ahead of us. What is property management? Clearly, property management is going to be a focal point politically and socially, because of inflation, the housing crisis. I hate using the word rental crisis because I think it's a housing crisis. And where is it going to stop? Is it going to continue? In regards to the situation, rental prices, I think, will continue to rise. And that's not the fault of anyone other than it's pure economics and supply and demand. And to those, of my clients, they've heard me say this before, but, we don't have enough homes. So that's the bottom line. There's not enough homes. And obviously I'll focus on Melbourne because that's where I'm from, but we do not have enough properties. So that's why rents are rising. No ifs, no buts. It's just purely supply and demand. Even if some miracle cure happened tomorrow, if I look at my own industry, most buildings will take 3 to 5 years to build. So from that perspective, the problem isn't going to disappear for 3 to 5 years. And then by then we've got increased immigration, we've got increased population, we're going to have more people searching for the same thing. So from that perspective, I look at rental increases as something that will unfortunately continue for quite some time for the renters. The rental providers are finding it no easier. Probably best not to ask my opinions about the interest rate rises and the lunatics sitting in the ivory tower. But that is a fact of where things are at. So the rental providers are finding it extremely, extremely difficult, and the pure cost of holding property has far outweighed any rental increase. If you just look at the interest rates, percentage on percentage, one's in the 200 to 300% increase versus no rental increases. Most rental increases are 10 to 15%. In most sort of suburbs, coming off a very, very low base. So with all that in mind, I think education becomes very, very important for the future. I think that the communication becomes very, very important. We as a business try to be as transparent as we can. A lot of people appreciate that. A lot don't like that. But we feel a lot more comfortable in, I suppose, telling people these sort of things to hopefully, again, educate and allow them the ability, because as you said before, I can't remember what we were talking about, but everything is just a function of someone else's viewpoint. So to the renters, at the moment, it's a disaster. I can guarantee you, based on the rental providers that I'm speaking to, it's an absolute disaster as well, because interest rates are far outweighing, and then you've got rates and taxes. You've got, especially in my business with OCs, insurance fees have gone through the roof. Everything, maintenance costs have gone through the roof. So no one is happy, but it becomes a function that everyone thinks, oh, you're the bad person. You're the bad person. Then we're the bad people because we're the deliverers of this news. That's not going to solve the problem. That's not going to help anyone. And there's obviously political parties who are playing politics and aren't really worried about the real issues at hand. And as a result, I'm not looking for them to help anyone. I don't think that's going to occur. So all we can do is ensure that we push through, we follow what we need to do, and again, just try to help people as much as we physically can in the best way we can, because we're all coming at it from a very, very different perspective. No one's right. No one's wrong. There's a lot of heartache for everyone. There's a lot of heartache for renters. There's a lot of heartache for rental providers. I know there's a lot of heartache. You mentioned it before for real estate agents. There's a lot of heartache for everyone. So all we need to do is know that that is going to be the future, and it's here to stay. It's not going to change. There is no magical wand that's going to make this thing disappear tomorrow. So your processes need to be top-notch. Your processes need to be proven, and your processes just need to be followed, and just keep on going. And hopefully we come out the other end a little bit happier and a little bit more succinct in what we do and how we do it, and work from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with that is just be kind, like we spoke about different perspectives, and I see a lot of hate, renters to rental providers about renters, and then towards real estate agents, because we get stuck in the middle somehow, right? And we're, like you said, we're the bad guys. But be kind as a collective, right? As equals, be kind. Like you said, it's not our fault what's happening. I do want to mention here though, I had a developer call me a couple of weeks ago. They're doing massive co-living spaces now, and I was like, yes, that is amazing. We need that, right? They are helping with what the problem is right now, essentially, right? Because we have a housing problem. A lady from the Room Exchange, they have a platform now. If you're a homeowner and you have spare bedrooms in your home, that you can now rent your rooms out, right? Because you've got these houses that you've got these rooms that are just sitting there. So now, well, you can help someone whilst making money at the same time if you want. Some people aren't doing it for money, but again, a business who's came up with an idea to help with our problem right now. And I think that's what we'll see more and more. I also know some builders and developers who have, you know, some old properties in CBD. They have purchased them and are now renovating them for co-living space, right? It's like this is amazing. People doing good things to help, not just, you know, the industry, but because, yeah, someone needs to do something. And if we all go sit back and do nothing, well, we're not helping actually solve the problem, right?
Yeah. And
right.
yeah, it's deep-seated. It's I did a podcast for my clients about 3 months ago, going into depth about all this. And if you really look at it, this goes back to an issue that was created in the 60s and 70s. This ain't something that's just happened overnight. And I think COVID sort of was the final straw that broke the camel's back in regards to the lack of construction activity over a 2-year period. But there's a lot more issues that have caused this and will continue to create it. And like you said, we're all humans at the end of the day. And I don't think anyone is doing things to be mean or to be, it's about survival. Everyone is trying to survive at the moment. Renters are trying to survive. Rental providers are trying to survive. Real estate agents are trying to survive. It's not like anyone, well, I haven't met anyone, so I don't know about other people, but I don't know anyone that's sitting at home like Scrooge McDuck, counting the coins and just and saying this is beautiful. Because when I look at the costs, when I look at the overheads, when I look at what is going on, no one is winning. Like, I went and filled the car up the other day, $2.50.
Yeah.
Like, this is a much wider problem than just, I suppose, rental. And that's the reason why interest rates are going up, whilst I think their economic sort of policies are a little bit outdated. But inflation is a very, very, very serious issue. And, you know, the cost of milk, the cost of bread, the cost of petrol, there's a lot more issues that are going on that are creating this. And all we can do is stick together and ensure that we can do the best we possibly can. Because if someone does their best, what are you meant to do?
Yeah, it's not about
what are you going to do? Hate them or get angry with them? If someone does their best, that's all you can ask. Absolutely. You know, is okay. That's what the rent is. That's what it is. I can't change it from a renter's point of view and a rental provider's point of view. You know, like the interest rate hike yesterday or the day before, that's probably added most people $400 a month. Then no one's increasing the rent $100 a week just because of what happened on Tuesday, plus the other, 6 or 7 interest rate rises that have gone up. And that's the problem.
Hasn't it been 13 interest rate rises we've had?
Yeah, I've actually lost count because it is what it is. I can't change it. I'm not going to stress about it. I just have to deal with it. And I think that's my philosophy to it all. Is the government are going to do what the government are going to do. Do I have any faith that they know what they're doing? Not at all. But can I change it? No. So we just need to deal with the circumstances that we've been given and deal with it as best we can. And there's obviously repercussions. We've got a lot of landlords who unfortunately are selling properties. They can't hold on anymore. They don't want to be investors anymore. They don't want to hold on and continue to lose money month after month after month after month. They've had enough. They're out. They prefer to go to Europe and enjoy the rest of their life. Equally, you got renters who can't afford to pay for the increases. And all this then stems back to us as real estate agents. We have a situation where the volume of data, the volume of work, the amount of information that we have to provide, and the time that we are consumed by doing all these things takes us away from other elements. We were talking about before the time and the job. The job has changed. The comparable data that needs to be provided, then the responses if someone does take you to CAV, and then you have to work through that process, keeping landlords informed of where the market is at. Because the media aren't doing it. The media are selling their story. The media are selling their hysteria. So the most important people are our customers, being the landlords, and we need to keep them informed of the facts. What are the rentals in the area? Where are they going to go? What's going to stop them rising? Obviously, there's the rent freeze discussion, which is another big discussion. So there's so many things going on. I think 2024, I'd hope that it had cooled down over 2023, but I see 2024 as another year of mass change. I think there's going to be a lot more hysteria. I think there is an election in Australia, which is going to, if I look at the last 2 elections in this country, they've probably been the quietest 2 months of my life. So we've got to counter that into the economy. We've got to count that into our sort of forward planning, because people won't know what they're doing. This year, it's been all about fear. They put up an interest rate and then they'll tell you there's another 15 coming. It's all just a bit of fear. Whereas next year, I think it's going to be just an element of uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen. And I don't think anyone likes that.
And I think what a couple of things you said, Dom, is education is so important. And because we're not just real estate agents or property managers, we're property advisors, and we're dealing with stories every day from people. So what better way to educate not just the rental providers, but renters as well, of what's happening? Because people tend to forget about the renters, but renters are going on and they're finding information and things like that. Educate them. Like, there's no point hiding things from your renters either. Like, just be honest and transparent with what can happen, or what is why the rents are increasing, what we're seeing from an economic point of view. Not just saying, oh, your rent's gone up, because then they're going to other places going, my agent's trying to put the rent up $150. What a dickhead they are. Excuse my language, viewers, but that's what's happening. Instead of sending out a newsletter or an email to your renters explaining what's happening in the economy, right? Because the fault isn't anyone's, right, other than this is just reality. This is what's happening right now. And
it's an economic situation. You're right. It's no one's fault.
Yeah.
No one's causing it. No one's exacerbating the problem. Unfortunately, get back to, as human beings, our number one goal is to survive. And that's all people are trying to do. Renters are trying to survive by, like you said, attacking a real estate agent or disputing this or disputing that. Landlords are trying to survive by not going broke, by not having the bank foreclose on the property because they're missing mortgage payments or can't cover the interest. Real estate agents are trying to survive by running a business in a market that unfortunately has people give away their services, which is another topic, but we won't go there, for free. So it's just everyone's just trying to survive the best way they can, and no one is trying to hurt anyone. But it is going to be something that's going to be here to stay, because the bottom line is number of people versus number of properties. One's bigger than the other and they don't fit. So when you squeeze something in, what happens? It explodes.
Yeah. And so, going back, it's like, let's educate. Let's be the best versions of ourselves, right? BDMs, property managers, leaders, directors, mentors, coaches. Let's be the best versions of ourselves. Let's be aware. And I think awareness is a great, and I know that we talk about that, Dom, but having awareness and understanding what's happening. But to understand, you need to go and learn, right? You need to develop your skills. You need to be looking at what's happening from an economy point of view. You need to listen to what your owners are saying. You need to listen to what your renters are saying, right?
100%. And the best thing to do, I think, is, and you just reeled off 5 or 6 individual elements, but there's no focal point. If you can learn about as many things as you can and then decipher that information and translate it yourself, I think that's where the real sort of gift is, and where the real growth comes from. Because, if you just, I'm going to wear black, 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 well, you're just going to wear black. But what's wrong with wearing white? What's wrong with wearing red? What's wrong with wearing pink or blue or purple? Or a bit of variety, a bit of hearing, like you said, from a renter's perspective, hearing from a landlord's perspective, hearing from a wealthy landlord, hearing from a struggling landlord, hearing from an owner's corporation, hearing from a council, hearing from a political party. Everyone has a different perspective. And if you can try and gather all that information and say, okay, now what do I do with that? Versus, I know my opinion's the only one that matters. I'm going forward, and you can all do what you need to do, but I'm doing it that way. You're just going to hit brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. And as opposed to, I'm not saying it's a smooth ride the other way, but at least, to something you said before, you can be authentic, you can be you can be mindful of yourself, you can look after yourself, and at least know that, you know what, I'm doing the best I physically can.
Yeah.
And if I can do the best I physically can, what else do people expect? If they don't like it, I'm sorry, you're not our clients, you're not our renters, you're not, I'm doing the best. Because if you don't have all the information that I have, and you're not willing to listen to the information I have, well, I can't help you.
Yeah, I love that. And I love behind you, Dom, it says, love is all we need. My quote that I say, and this is actually from Andrew Morello, which we both know, is love, love. So I always have this, like, it's my little thing, and it's how I, celebrate life, and how I like to view people, and, new people I meet, is just love, love. Like, love is in everything, it's in everyone. And I hope that, and I think this is a good way to end today, is just be kind, not just to others, but to yourself. Love yourself, love others. And what we've said today, and I think that was a theme here, is just be the best version of yourself and be the best that you can.
That's it.
Yeah. Dom, thank you so much for coming on today. Like, so many great things that we spoke about. Always thoroughly enjoy our chats. I will pop your details, if that's okay, Dom, if anyone wants to reach out and have a chat. Your mind and your perspective and viewpoints I absolutely love, because you've done so much work and development, and you've got a great team doing so many good things for your business. And hopefully some people can pick your brain and pull some things apart that we've spoken about today.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to chat to anyone, Sarah. So yeah, by all means, if anyone has any questions, queries, wants to disagree, agree, discuss. Like I said, for me, it's very much about being open to all discussions. I'll have my opinions, you'll have your opinions. At the end of the day, though, we just need to, I suppose, like you said, work together to come to a resolution, work together to come to a solution, and that's basically about it. But if anyone wants to reach out, happy to have a chat anytime.
I love that. Amazing. Thank you, Dom. And for everyone watching today, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And in true Sarah Sinclair style, keep rising.